One of the most important questions Christian people are wondering is whether or not cremation will impact their future resurrected body. There have been times in church history where the leaders taught that a burned body could not be resurrected. We will dive into what cremation is to clarify some critical information and misunderstanding about the practice, and then talk about what cremation means for Christians. Cremation is a method of final disposition of a dead body through burning. It serves as a funeral or post-funeral rite and as an alternative to burial. The practice of cremation has a rich history and has been adopted by various cultures and religions around the world. The earliest evidence of cremation dates back to the Stone Age, around 3000 BC. Archaeological discoveries have unearthed rustic urns in Europe, Russia, and Japan, indicating that cremation has been a common way to lay loved ones to rest for nearly 3,000 years. The practice spread to the British Isles and southern parts of Europe like Italy and Spain between 2500 and 1000 BC. In Rome, between 27 BC and 395 AD, cremation was widely practiced and accepted as the most common form of burial. Romans practiced two types of burial: cremation and inhumation, the burial of the dead in the ground. The Roman cremation process was advanced and ceremonial, involving the removal of the body to the necropolis, city of the dead, where it was placed upon a funeral pyre. The revival of interest in cremation in Europe and the United States began in 1874, when Queen Victoria's surgeon, Sir Henry Thompson, published his influential book, Cremation, The Treatment of the Body After Death. Cremation remained the most widely used form of death care until around the 2nd century AD, when inhumation gained more popularity due to the influence of early Christians and the Roman Catholic Church. In the early 1900s, cremation was accepted in the United States as a respectable and reliable form of death care. Today, cremation is the preferred method of disposition in the United States. According to the Cremation Association for North America, over half of the people who pass away in the United States are cremated each year. The cremation rate in the US continues to rise, and with it, the question of how to best celebrate our cremated loved ones' lives. Cremation is a popular practice in many cultures and religions. In Hinduism, the practice is linked to reincarnation, as it can be seen as allowing the spirit that once inhabited the body to move on to its next life. In Japan, there is a nearly 100% cremation rate. In Buddhism, cremation is seen as a way to free the spirit from the physical body and to achieve spiritual purification. The process of cremation involves the reduction of a body to its essential elements through burning. The body is placed in a chamber where intense heat transforms it in an hour or two to a few pounds of white, powdery ash that is disposed of in accordance with law and sentiment, scattered in a garden or some other preferred spot, placed in an urn and kept at home, or taken to a cemetery for burial in a small plot or placement in a columbarium. Cremation is a widely practiced and respected method of final disposition of a dead body. Its history spans thousands of years and is rooted in various cultures and religions. The practice continues to evolve and adapt to the changing needs and preferences of society. But what about Christians? Should they be concerned about cremation? In the grand scheme of things, whether you're cremated or buried probably won't make a big difference when it comes to the resurrection of the dead. After all, if God can create the universe from nothing, reassembling a few ashes into a resurrected body should be a piece of cake for him. Now, some Christians might worry that being cremated could somehow prevent their resurrection or affect their rapture. But let's take a look at what the Bible actually says about these things. First, the Bible teaches that all believers will be resurrected, regardless of their physical condition at the time of death. In 1 Corinthians 15:42-44, Paul writes, "So will it be with the resurrection of the dead. The body that is sown is perishable, it is raised imperishable, it is sown in dishonor, it is raised in glory, it is sown in weakness, it is raised in power, it is sown a natural body, it is raised a spiritual body." This passage makes it clear that our resurrected bodies will be transformed and made imperishable. regardless of what happens to our earthly bodies. Second, the Bible also teaches that the resurrection of the dead will be a miraculous event, accomplished by the power of God. In 1 Thessalonians 4:16-17, Paul writes, "For the Lord himself will come down from heaven with a loud command, with the voice of the Arks Angel, and with the trumpet call of God, and the dead in Christ will rise first. After that, we who are still alive and are left will be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air." This passage shows that the resurrection of the dead will be a supernatural event, not dependent on the physical condition of the bodies at the time of death. So, should Christians be concerned about cremation and their future resurrected bodies? Not really. The Bible makes it clear that our resurrected bodies will be transformed and made imperishable, regardless of what happens to our earthly bodies, and the resurrection of the dead will be a miraculous event, accomplished by the power of God. In the end, whether you're cremated or buried, the most important thing is your faith in Jesus Christ. As Paul writes in 1 Corinthians 15:58, "Therefore, my dear brothers and sisters, stand firm. Let nothing move you. Always give yourselves fully to the work of the Lord, knowing that your labor in the Lord is not in vain." So don't worry about your future resurrected body. Just focus on living your life in a way that honors God and makes a difference in the world. And if you're worried about your funeral plans, just remember that God has a sense of humor too. As the saying goes, from ashes to ashes, from dust to dust, but from the grave, a new body we trust.